So good evening, everybody. This is David Gilmore. I'm here with Ben, my son, and Rachel, my daughter, and we are here to have a chat. We have got over 150 questions that have come in. The seminar attendance is just about full, so we will max out here quite quickly. But we're glad to have you. We're excited that you're here. We have never done a live webinar. Now, this is completely out of my comfort zone for me because I am really good at editing. And so my videos turn out pretty good, but we don't have editing going on a live webinar. You'll get the real David here. Typically, for every 10 minutes of video that I put up, it's about an hour and a half, between an hour and a half of editing. So there's a lot of editing besides videoing that's involved in putting up a video on YouTube. And that's where I spend most of my time really is in support, putting up videos, helping people with their online businesses, showing the gardening and so forth. But we've got a lot to get through tonight. Ben is monitoring the questions, so if a question comes to your mind, feel free to type that in and he'll either reply with you or he will let me know and we'll address that live. But let's go ahead and get started on the questions. Again, thank you very much for being here. When I started sharing videos on YouTube 4 years ago, I would have never thought we would have over 100,000 subscribers. And so I thank you for your subscriptions and your support and your trust. It means a lot to me. I do not take that lightly at all. I'm very careful what I share, and what I share comes from my heart and from my personal experience. Right off the bat, I am no expert at anything, but I have lots of experiences and lots of testing, and I do not mind spending my time and my money and my efforts to find the best solutions I can find and then share those best solutions for you. So let's get started on some questions here. So Chris from Arizona wants to know about growing food in the desert. As you may know, I've tried a lot of different gardening methods. The one that we settled on is the Mittleider gardening method, and the reason is because it worked. It just flat out worked. Coming from somebody who had no gardening experience, who wanted to be able to grow food and do it successfully out of the get-go, it was an easy step-by-step method. What I used to get started, I just flipped over to mittleidergardening.com. Ben, can you post that link for everybody? And when there's links that come up on the screens, I'll have Ben post those so that you can see those in your chat windows. And we'll also post those below this video when I upload it to YouTube. What I used to learn this method is I went to mittleidergardening.com. I purchased some micronutrients. I also purchased a paperback version of the Mittleider Gardening Course book. I call this my gardening Bible. And I purchased a Kenyan hoe several months later because whenever I tried to get them, they were out of stock. They sell so fast. This is the cheapest place I can find this particular hoe, and it's just the best thing in a garden. So if you want to get started with gardening, you want a step-by-step process, one that you guarantee to work, and we'll talk more about nutrition and organic and so forth. And as the questions come up, I would highly recommend you go there. All right, so that's what I would recommend, Chris, is going to mittleidergardening.com and picking up those 3 items. Another really good place is to go to Facebook. Now, I don't Facebook, but a couple years ago, I started a Mittleider Gardening group in Facebook, and we are well over 7,000. I haven't checked lately. I don't know if we're up to 8,000 members right now. And that's a lot of people, great gardening experience, and a lot of people coming to learn about the Mittleider gardening method specifically. We cover all aspects of the Mittleider gardening method there. It's a closed group. Go in and just request for a membership. We'll log you in, and you can become part of a great big mind trust there and learn how to do this very, very well. We have actually a couple different full week-long training sessions coming up. This is the first time we'll actually ever doing this in Idaho. So if you would like to spend 6 full days with Jim Kennard, who was personally trained by Jacob Mittleider and worked with him for 25 years in Idaho Falls area, we have 30 seats available, and that'll be Monday through Saturday, May 2nd through May 7th. That'll actually be in the Shelley area, just south of Idaho Falls. We've had lots of requests. We've already had people reserving this. Even though we just launched it today, people have already taken advantage of it. So we're taking the first 30 paid subscriptions, and that will secure your seat for that training period. You will learn everything from nuts to bolts, from A to Z on gardening. You'll learn it directly from Jacob Mittleider's #1 mentee, Jim Kennard. My wife, Sue, and I will both be there. And we'll go through everything comprehensively. When you click that link, the LDSPrepper.com/May2 link, it'll take you to this registration page, and you get full details on all the things that we're going to be covering in the training. If this is something you want to learn, if you want to take multiple years of learning by yourself and put it into one high-paced, information-packed, fun week, this is what you want to look to do. Now, in addition to that, the following week, we have the same course, and this will be actually at a preparedness university in Kidder, Missouri. This is property that Jim Kennard purchased. It's actually the school that J.C. Penney went to. It was his middle school. And this is a $500 course. The other one is $250 right now if you pre-register, because this particular one includes full room and board. And the details are on this page here. This will include dorms type housing and accommodations. We'll have special situations set up for husbands and wife and separate for men and women. And I've been multiple times, and I learned something new every time. So if you're interested in learning how to do gardening very, very well, I recommend one of those 2 weeks to get registered. Okay, so Tom from Texas says, as we plan our new house, our home, and first garden in late 2016, how to stage and be able to harvest, have food all year round? That's a great question, and something that is really important to my wife and me is being able to grow food year round, and that's why we built the geothermal or geo-air greenhouse, and we'll go into a lot of detail on that here. But what I would recommend is you take a look at the Mittleider Gardening Planting Detail Sheet. And you can get this sheet in the files section of the Mittleider Gardening group on Facebook. Now the reason why I recommend this sheet, and this is by far the best gardening layout in one page I've ever seen. So if he wants to grow food year round, what you're going to need to be able to do is know when to plant and start germination, how many weeks before you need to put that into the garden. If you're going to want to grow year round, the minute you take a crop out, the same day you'll need to put a crop in. So right here, it tells you when to plant indoors. So if you're going to plant bush beans and you want to get a head start so they're ready to go in the garden, you want to plant them 2 weeks before you put them into the garden. Whereas with broccoli, you want to plant them 8 weeks before you put them in the garden. So you'll actually be transplanting these plants. Great document. Highly recommend you get that. It covers lots of different plants, about everything you can think of. It doesn't cost anything. It's a free download in the files section. Okay, Troy wants to know about Geothermal Greenhouse. So let's go there. I took this picture yesterday, actually. This is what it looks like here in southeast Idaho. Pretty cold, sub-zero temperature. And I have been experimenting in trying to get the best balance. This is inside the Geothermal Greenhouse. It's a 20 by 40 PVC structure. I'm using 1.5-inch PVC arches right here. I've got 2 layers of plastic, 6 mil greenhouse plastic. It's very inexpensive to make. Cost me about $1,200 to build the structure itself and about $1,200 to build the geo-air below it. Things I've been doing during the winter is, with my son's help, Ben, and his father-in-law, we've installed 2 layers of 1-inch ABS styrofoam here. These are 4-foot by 8-foot sheets. Because I placed my arches 4 feet apart, the 4-foot sheets of styrofoam fit right in between those arches and worked out really well. You can see I've added some little extra support here. I just took some masonite board, cut it in 4-inch wide strips, and put it between the styrofoam and the PVC pipe, and that helps hold it in place as things kind of move around a little bit with the wind and the weather. As we were putting in the styrofoam, Ben mentioned how much warmer it got as we put in each new piece of styrofoam. It got warmer and warmer and warmer. This is on the north side. So that has made a substantial difference in how well insulated the greenhouse is. That goes from all the way from the ground up to the center of the greenhouse. We can see it right over here. You can see on the top of my T-frames, I've got some fans. Those I use during the summer to move air through to keep it nice and cool. They add extra support to the arch. It's important that you give some kind of arch support because this is only PVC and we've gotten several inches of snow here. Need to make sure that that gets supported. So the question is, where do we get the parts for the geo-air? I actually have a materials list with my sources, and you're welcome to email me asking. Just put an email to LDSPrepper@gmail.com. I just kind of cringe putting that email address out there because I get about 400 emails a day, and I'm going through deleting a bunch of spam. But anyway, feel free to use that personal email address, LDSPrepper@gmail.com. I'll send you the materials list. It's not a complete materials list. I didn't build it. Somebody who's building this same structure came through and built the materials list, but I did add all my suppliers here in Idaho. Your suppliers may be different if you're in Montana or Florida or somewhere, but send me an email. Just put greenhouse materials list in the subject line, and I'll be glad to send that to you. Something else I've just added this last week are these 20 30-gallon black drums. These had organic peroxide in them, which is perfect because that's obviously a sanitizer. That's what it's used for. I rinsed them out well, filled them with well water, added Clorox to each of these, and these are being used as a heat sink and for above ground water storage. I'm really big into water storage and water production, food storage and food production. It serves two purposes. By the way, this is a kale tree. This was the small one. The plants are doing really, really well in here. Back here is a small 20,000 BTU heater. I'm actually going to be replacing that. So I started out with a 30 BTU heater. I'm at a 20 BTU. I think I'll scale down to a 10 BTU. I just need to have this on the lowest setting. The geo-air tube puts out plenty of heat. I just need to be able to make sure that heat doesn't go out of the greenhouse by insulating it properly. I'll be working on adjusting that. Here's just some extra barrels I was given. There really isn't any minimum size of a greenhouse that you need to be built in order to be productive. You can make it 8 foot by 10 or whatever you wanted. Small ones have been built and been very successful at it. You'll notice here I've got plastic over the plants. Here is another shot of it. This is 2.5 ounce frost blanket. I bought that at agriculturalsolutions.com, I believe. And then I've got 6 mil greenhouse plastic over the top of that. Now it's been getting cold in here, but I found that with the plastic on there, it really makes a difference. The plants are doing very, very well. So this is what I have, what it looks like when I remove the plastic in the morning. You can see I also have some styrofoam here that's about 18 inches high on the south side. I tried to leave as much space open for light to come through, considering that the sun doesn't go all the way down on the south and doesn't go all the way up on the north. I've got as much exposed as I think that I need to. Here's some Swiss chard. You'll see that I have got a thermometer right here. And over here in the sugar snap peas, they've just germinated. I've got another thermometer. I actually have 6 thermometers in the greenhouse running data 24/7, and I'm collecting that data to test to see what works best. You can see the Christmas tree lights there. I tried that. It added about 1 degree difference. I did notice in the greenhouse that the center row has always been warmer than the outside rows. I'm going to switch over to my lacrosse alerts, and I've got 3 of those thermometers in there. So outside right now at 6:13 p.m., it is 10.6 degrees. I've got that thermometer outside on the north side of my garden shed. We're slated to be, I think, -2 degrees is what I heard on the news tonight. The greenhouse is at 38.7 degrees. And let's just take a look at the history of it today. So you can see it's 38.7, which is really colder than I want. I really don't want it to be lower than 40 at night, but I found by having the plants covered, it has not affected them as far as getting frostburned at all. The colder weather does slow them down, and they do go dormant. And so when it warms up during the day, they come out of dormancy. So this is the actual greenhouse temperatures for today. So let's take a look at, say, 3:10, it was 52 degrees. At 158, it was 55.9 degrees. I think it got up to around 60 degrees. Yeah, it's like 61.8 degrees was the high today. It's really good to be able to collect this data and know what's going on live, and it helps me be able to decide what I need to be doing. This is the current temperature coming out of the geo-air tube. So what I did is I took 800 feet of 4-inch non-perforated solid corrugated black drain pipe, just like you buy at Home Depot and Lowe's, buried that 8 feet deep, and put a blower on it. It's a 1/3 horsepower furnace blower I got at no cost from just calling around some heating and air conditioning places. When they replace air conditioning units, they pull out the old blowers called squirrel cages, and they just literally fill up a dumpster and then take them down for recycling. You may be able to do the same. So right now, the air coming out of that is 46.9 degrees, which is wonderful. It's just awesome. And then the ambient temperature around that is around 36.9 degrees. So you can see the pretty consistent here for the last, last hour. Let me scroll down again. And it had, you can see where I did not have it running. I usually started around 5 o'clock. Here we had temperatures up around 55 degrees at 2 o'clock, but it actually wasn't running at that time. That's just a probe down inside the tube. So one thing I have found for absolute certain is that the geothermal system flat out works. It pumps out warm air all the time. Now, something else I've learned is the colder it gets outside in winter, and we've had minus 17, what's the coldest it's been around here? 17 degrees? I have a weather station at my house, and so I track that also. But at my house, it's been minus 17 degrees, not counting wind chill. The colder it gets, the greater the distance between the inside temperature and the outside temperature is. It doesn't work better, but it really shows off its power the colder it gets. So I've been very, very pleased. I don't see a way right now to do this without some kind of secondary heating until I get this all figured out. Or it just may be that it's so cold that we do need secondary heating. Now, last year, when we get the geothermal greenhouse up in February, grow from February on with no secondary heating at all. It all worked great. We had a much milder winter. So depending on where you live and depending on what your temperatures are, will determine how much insulation you need and how well this will work for you.